This starts out with durum flour, and of course you remember that letter I got about the person who couldn't eat eggs, egg whites, and a little bit of wine. So I want to put about 3 cups of durum flour on a board. If you don't have durum flour, you can do this with unbleached flour, and a pinch of salt. And what I want to do now is make a well. Mix that up first with the salt, and then make what the Italians call the fontana. This is the well which will house the egg whites. We are making noodles without egg yolks. And of course, this is not a new idea. And here in the center, I've got about 8 medium-sized egg whites. And I'm going to add a drop of white wine, about a tablespoon. If you wanted to put some oil in with this, you could also add a little bit of olive oil. And now I need a fork. And what I want to do here is begin to make my dough. So starting on the inside wall of the well, start bringing the flour in, you see, just the way I'm doing. And get my hands into this. So when you can't move the fork very well anymore, put it down and get your hands into it. So now what you want to do is add just enough flour to create a ball of dough that you can move on your board. So you cannot rush this process. You get in the kitchen and you put on the Italian music and you make dough. So there, I think you get the idea. This needs about 5 more minutes of kneading, but you see how nice and soft that is. So now you have to wrap that up. You have to let that rest for a few minutes. So that's going to go into some plastic wrap where you could put a bowl on top of it and just put it off to the side for about 10 minutes. And now what you want to do is work with a small piece at a time. So I'm going to make one for you, and then of course you'll have this. Now meanwhile, let me see that my water is boiling here, because there's nothing worse than putting pasta into water that isn't boiling. And we're going to get that up. Okay, so have enough water boiling in a pot. So now what you need to do is flour the board again and get a piece of dough that you can pound down with a rolling pin. And I like to use Nonna Saporitos, and I need to put a little bit of flour right on my pin there, you see. And all you want to do is flatten the dough. You see the lines in that dough? That comes from making pasta for many years on an old instrument known as the chitarra. Okay, so once you got it flattened down like that, then you can put it through the pasta machine. And here's mine. And it's got a little motor on it, you see, that helps me thin the dough down. So now, all right, there we go. Move that off, and you see what a nice long piece that is, but I don't really want it that long. So I'm going to cut this up into sections that are eatable. And then to make the pappardelle, what you want to do is take a little cutter, a little pastry wheel, you see, like this. And this is the formation now of the pappardelle, just like that, beautiful. And now these can go into the pot of salted boiling water. This isn't going to take long to cook, so I'm going to put those in along with others you see that I made earlier and dried. Now, if you want to make these the day before, you can. You see these? I made these yesterday for you. And in they go, and you see how lovely this color is. No egg yolks, but it's still a nice yellow-looking dough. So that goes in. And now, I won't cook all of it. I'll probably just cook about half for you. This is not going to take very long at all. Fresh pasta like this just cooks in a very short amount of time. So now let me check here. I have to see just exactly where I am with this. And you'll only know these are cooked by sampling one. So I'm just going to have to see, and I can tell by feel because I've fingered a lot of noodles in my day. And you see how beautiful that has stayed together? It's just beautiful. And it's ready now to go onto our platter, I think. Well, there's a couple in there that aren't quite done, you see? Those are just a little bit too chewy yet. I can tell just by feeling it that it isn't quite ready to go. Now, what would you have with this? Well, now let me see how we're doing here. Okay, I think it's time for the big release. You gotta get a pot like this. They're looking very nicely. I want to get all that water off. And I think they're ready to come out. I only cooked a few for you, but now you're going to get to see what that looks like. Look at how beautiful that is.